All right, guys, will you bow your heads with us, please? Dear God, you know our hearts are prone to wander, and we're creatives, and we've got so many ideas and so many things we want to say, but God, please help us hear you. Please let Justin and I be a vessel and deny ourselves while we're talking. I pray that you would just help us say the words you want us to say and leave room for the Holy Spirit. You know how much I love to prepare, but God, may I not cling to the preparation and cling to you during this time. I thank you for every single person in this room. May they feel valued. May they feel encouraged and inspired, not intimidated. And may we bring you glory. Amen. Guys, this is like my favorite thing to do. And not because I'm an actress. It's actually my favorite thing to talk about the Lord. So if you're here and you're like, oh, I want some self-tape tips, I promise we will get there. But as my brother-in-law says, it's impossible for me to teach acting without talking about the Lord, right? And that really excites me because we're all actors and we're seeking truth, right? We want to be believable. We want to have this feeling that when we're watching a movie, we're like, that person is truth. I believe they're that character. And so kind of what I'm doing before Justin gives you all these amazing tips is I like to train up all of my actors, including myself. This is something I'm working on making sure I get my identity right before I get into the self-tape room, and honestly during. You know, a self-tape, for those of you who don't know, it's like this tiny little box is what it feels like. You have a blue wall, you know, or a gray wall, and it's kind of shot like this. And you feel limited. And that's something that we are so passionate about, thank you so much, is not feeling limited, because God is so vast. And can we bring his creativity, as we should, into our self-tapes, right? So I'm going to share some points on here first, and then we're going to tell some stories. But before I tell you about my life and how God has transformed me, I really, really feel called to get into his word first, right? I think a lot of times, I don't know, show of hands, but I can really elevate people and not elevate God. And he is number one, and there's no one to impress, right? But it's hard. As actors, we want to please the director. We honestly even want the approval of ourselves. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but a lot of my students, they turn in tapes, and they're like, I'm just not proud of my work. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But approval of man can also include approval of ourself and wanting that way more than we're worried about obeying God, right? So let's jump in. Before we start talking about those dreams and desires, as I was just saying, and before the self-tape tips, let's reiterate. I want to put on the table the biggest conviction God has laid on my heart. You're good. Go, mama. You're doing great, Brooklyn. The biggest conviction that God has put on my heart this year was that he wants me to be more excited about his word than I am about creating. It's really hard. This week, I was actually kind of nervous. I was like, okay, I kind of know what to say sometimes as an actress that's popular. I don't know if anyone relates to that. I know what someone will like a lot of the times. And I think we may have a tendency to lean into that instead of lean into kind of the unpopular thing to speak the truth of what God's saying, especially our generation. Am I right? Are we not afraid to speak the truth because it's so controversial? It's scary, but that's okay. This is why we have each other, and this is why we're in this space, is to hold each other accountable, because actors, it is not about us. And you may hear that all week, and you're like, how many times is someone going to get on stage and say it's about God? I hope a lot. But what I love, if there's any practical creatives out there, which is funny, but if you're practical like me, I like to get discipleship on action steps to actually apply those things. What does it mean? How does it look to put God first in a self-tape, in an audition? And I promise once you do that, God's blessings in his word, he will bless every single audition you do, even if it's just a learning experience. Okay. So creating may be the way you feel God's presence. Do you guys feel God's presence, show of hands, when you're really enjoying creating? It could even be painting. One of my friends is like basically the mom from Princess Diaries. She is. She feels God's presence when she's like popping those, the balloons. Any Princess Diaries girls up in here? Right. So my friends and I, we did that. Actually, Mrs. Dials over there, my best friend Pfeiffer, that's her daughter, she made my friend all those balloons, and we were just popping it and having fun, and we felt so free popping those painted balloons, right? You could feel creative like Justin when he's cooking. That's how we feel God's presence, or acting, or directing. And that's awesome. But this Bible right here, and I brought it up here because we're so attached to our phones, and that's okay if you look at the word on your phone. But I kind of like miss seeing people bring the word up here. It kind of convicts me. I'm like, it's right there. Do I love this more than my script? I hope so. So the Bible, this thing right here, holds the key on not just learning how to create, but beholding the Creator. One of my favorite things that I teach my students is through the Meisner acting technique. It's by Sanford Meisner, and I don't believe he's a Christian. I hope he was. But beholding, what does it mean if God's up there in heaven, which he is, and I'm beholding him, I'm looking up at him, and I am not looking at, oh, my shoe looks weird. Oh, a dog jumped on my jumper this morning. Oh, I hope I look okay right now, right? It's when we're beholding, we're not beholding ourselves, we're beholding the Creator, and that's going to show in our self-tapes. He is the ultimate guide. He is creativity itself. And may we never be more into movie making than we are him. So let me say that again. What does that mean? May we never be more into movie making than we are him. Guys, it is such an idol to put something ahead of him, right? To be like, I want to be in that movie so badly. And those feelings and desires are awesome. But when they are out of order, we're working out of this scarcity mindset instead of abundance. He wants an abundant life for you. But something that's going to be hard that we talk about today is it's in his timing. And I can share some stories of how I feel with that. If you're like, I'm a day player, welcome, me too, right? Maybe one day he'll give me that really amazing role. But it's about him, and if I'm focusing so much on booking, then I'm beholding, once again, myself, and I'm not beholding God. So, did you know that God cares more about your dreams than you do? It makes me want to cry. When I'm in the car and I'm like, God, I really want this, or why did she book this, which is really ugly of myself, but let's just say the ugly truth, right? Why not talk about it? The more that we talk about it, the more we can be together and talk about what God says versus how we feel. There's a space to say how you feel, but kind of, I think, a little space. Talk to your Father about it, but then go, what do you say about it? And let's put more emphasis on the word than we are our feelings. And let's be real, us actors have a lot of feelings. Am I right? So, in Galatians 6, my grandmother encouraged me to read in the Message version of the Bible first. I was kind of like, King James can get a little tricky for me. So I sometimes need it to kind of be a little more simple. And she said, let's just start in the Message through discipleship. Then we'll move to ESV, then we'll move to King James, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Just get in the Word. There's no rigid check mark. I can get a little rigid, so. Okay, in Galatians 6, in the Message, it says, make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you have been given. Then sink yourself into that. Don't be impressed with yourself. Don't compare yourself with others. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life. I kind of feel like that's pretty specific. It's like, friends, we must first explore who we are before we think about the work he has called us to do. Does anyone else obsess over self-tapes? Has anyone been like, I want this so bad, right? And it's like, I kind of just forget who Amber is because I'm immersing myself into the character too much. Am I right? So the work is secondary. and he is number one. And that's why being up here means so much to me. Because guys, by the pruning of God kind of benching me sometimes, by God saying, Amber, we're not quite ready for that yet. It means too much to you, is the reason I get to stand up here. Because when God brought me on LifeMark with Justin, I have wanted to be a part of a Kendrick brother movie since Facing the Giants. My parents actually prayed for about 15 years not to be an actress. My parents said, I pray that you would be influenced by people like the Kendricks so you do not lose hope in this industry. They said, actually, we want you to be discipled. They literally said the Kendricks, Kirk Cameron, and Candace Cameron Bure, which we've talked about too. As you guys know in LifeMark, Kirk Cameron and the Kendrick brothers, they were there. I would never have gotten to be discipled by these incredible men with great boundaries and amazing wives and amazing kids if my husband hadn't booked the lead character. I thought I was being brought on that set to act. I was being brought on that set to have my heart changed, that it wasn't about me, that I would have a day player role, and I'm so blessed I got to do that. However, I got to be his cheerleader. I got to learn what it looks like. Thanks, honey. Thank you. And learn what it was like to just watch how other people did it. And in reality, it was a blessing because I didn't have the pressure of being prepared every day to be the main actor in this movie, right? That's a lie. And if anyone knows me, I would be like, I'm so ready, right? No.
I wouldn't have seen it. You would have gone into like a total hibernation, script, like analysis, the whole thing. I would have come home every single day in preparation for that movie. Like, where's my wife? She would have been like, I can't talk. I have my
Right.
This is, you know.
And I think that's the beautiful part of being married in this industry. A lot of you may be like, that must be a hot mess. It is. We are a hot mess. But we really hold each other accountable when it gets out of whack. When we notice that's an idol, yikes, because it is. Even last week, I was like really struggling with something. And I said, just let me, I'm in my flesh for a second. I'm going to cry. And then I got to know the truth. Let's talk about it. But being on LifeMark really helped me realize that discipleship, community, and then going out and telling some of our students through our studio, he's number one. There is favor in keeping him number one. And so bless God that I have been benched sometimes. Thank you. And maybe my time will come where I get to do that all dramatic thing in a Kendrick Brother movie. We'll see. So my husband and I, we run a Christian film studio. And it jazzes me up because we get to talk about God more than we talk about acting. And we're actually seeing a lot of blessing and favor on our students because they're keeping the main thing the main thing. Mackenzie got baptized last night. And honestly, what really blessed me is I was like, I'm going to talk about getting in the Word over self-taping, and she prayed for me and discipled me right before I got on stage today. That's the point. It's really not us leading these kids. It's us being in community with each other. So let's talk about some things we struggle with. Narratives and lies we believed when we are focused on our feelings. Ooh, I'm kind of nervous about this because this is me too. We often worry about booking the role over remembering who and whose we are, right? And when Galatians 6 says, make a careful exploration, let's dive into that. I'm learning through discipleship that this is an ongoing journey. It does not come naturally for us, whether you're an actress or not, whether you're a director, just a mom or a dad, whoever you are, it is natural for us to think about us. That's why we have to always be in the Word and have accountability, because we got to stay connected to the vine. It's not in our nature to do that. We are prone to wander, and that's why it's so important that before every audition, before every self-tape, every opportunity, we stay connected to Him and we speak His truth over everything. So, in acting, our number one job is to do that, to tell the truth. How are we supposed to tell the truth, like we were talking about earlier, if we're not memorizing it? When God and I were talking and praying about that, I found it kind of fascinating that He said, I want you to talk about selflessness this week. And I was like, no, please no. And ironically, I was like, God, do you know we're talking about self-taping? And you're telling me to talk about selflessness? No. I do not find it ironic, however, that as I was saying earlier, in my college experience, I went to a secular college, okay? Like I was saying, I studied the Meisner acting technique. And here's what's so cool. The Meisner acting technique depends on me getting off of myself and focusing on the other person. What? Okay, so some other common notes and themes that I was kind of going through this week were what Sanford Meisner says about listening and answering. That acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Okay, so here I am as a new Christian, trying to apply, okay, this is what you taught me in this secular environment. How can it actually come into my life and me take action as an actress? Does your word say this even in a better way? Could the key to not feeling insecure in my work be to stop thinking about myself and focus on the other person? Thanks. So in Matthew 6 in the Message, it says, what I'm trying to do is get you to relax. I was like, thank you. To not be so preoccupied with getting so you can respond to God's giving. Do I have time for a story? How am I doing?
I would keep going.
Okay, we're going to keep going. So I'm called to listen first to someone and then answer. Doesn't that sound like James 1:19? Be quick to listen and slow to speak? How cool is that? Listen and answer? I mean, come on, this isn't the Bible here. So it sounds like how I imagine my father listens to me, as in God. And also my earthly dad was and is the same way. He's in heaven now. He empathizes and walks through it all with us. So are we willing to look at our character like that? So I have an exercise with my students where I ask them if they've taken their character out on a coffee date, okay? Sounds a little silly, but I love silly things, clearly. You see, every character you decide to audition for means something, just like you and me. It doesn't matter how big or small the character is. If you're playing Nate in LifeMark, or if you're playing the clinic employee like me, you are portraying a real person in that story. So before I had a baby, Evie's somewhere. Oh, she's not in here. Hope she's doing okay. I would try and make a fun cup of coffee, or go get some, print my script, and start asking my characters 20 questions like I had a new friend. I want to ask her, what are your relationships like? What do you like for breakfast? Are you a dog person? I want to find out her temperament. Like I was talking about yesterday, what's her Enneagram maybe? Is she a peacemaker, or is she like me and she's a challenger? Who knows? Some people may think that's a bit excessive, right? You mean you take all that time to hang out with her and study your script? So I started thinking, isn't that what's wrong with our generation? We've become so distracted and self-absorbed that we've stopped asking questions. We've stopped taking the time. We're not curious anymore, it feels like. And we are quick to share instead of quick to listen. And that's reading on screen and our work. And I do this too, a lot. We're both big talkers, as you can see. You may be the only one on screen for your video audition, right? You may be self-taping. But I want to reiterate this point over and over again today. I think the key to a great self-tape is to take yourself out of it. Just like I believe the key to persevere in this industry and life is to take yourself out of it too and keep God center. So I'm going to wrap it up so my husband can take over. I believe when God is at the core and we keep this vertical, my grandmother always says this, she's like, keep it vertical, Amber. She's basically the grandma in War Room, but obviously white. But if we keep this vertical relationship going, I was like so excited. I was like, God, you don't want me to be perfect, because that's relying on Amber. You want me to be excellent, which is relying on you, okay? He doesn't want us to feel this scarcity of if this other girl wins or this other guy wins. When he's taking care of her, it doesn't mean he's not taking care of you. So just wait. Trust him. He's got something cooking. And when I keep this vertical relationship, I am motivated to not move myself, but motivated to move in alignment with God, which is so exciting. It's okay, honey. And as actors, it's really awkward to learn how to like be on social media, or how do I go up to a manager and say, hey, I'm Amber, or I'm Justin, or whatever. But when we keep this vertical relationship, we shift from promoting ourselves to promoting him, which in reality makes us attractive. It does say in his word that when we are beholding him, it will become attractive to the right people. They will see him in you. So he is all good things, and don't you think him being front and center in your life will read in your self-tapes? It will. Let's say the casting director may not just want to work with you in this project, but they'll see something in you to where they will want to work with you in another film, or just in life. They might want to be your friend. That's what happened to us with Beverly Holloway, honestly. So in 1 Thessalonians 3, it says, may the master pour on the love so it fills your lives and splashes over on everyone around you, just as it does from us to you. May you be infused with strength and purity, filled with confidence in the presence of God our Father when our Master Jesus arrives with his followers. If we are going to stand confidently before God one day, literally the King of the universe, then friends, we can handle auditioning via self-tape. My goodness. The only thing to be feared, and I get so afraid, is I'm like, wait, this is so awesome. I only have to fear you. And the enemy has been wanting to put a war on my mind while I'm auditioning. So behold him, and your fears will actually not maybe go away all the time, but they will be in your Father's hands, and they're not in yours. So take heart. It says, let's actually apply this now to our self-tapes. Beholding him as actors means that verse I was just saying, you will be infused with strength. I'm like, oh, I want that when I'm on set. You can put yourself out there, friends, with this audition. You will be infused with purity. Oh, this one is the one that really hurts me. He will give you a pure heart in regards to your hopes and desires with your auditions if you ask him for it. What I mean by that is having a pure heart when you might get jealous, having a pure heart when you think it's not fair, having a pure heart when someone's on set with your friends or your mentors and you think, I don't even respect their spiritual walk. I have to ask for a pure heart because God's doing something on that set with him or her where they need to be there maybe more than I do. Not one can make me cry, so let's keep going. You will be infused with confidence. We can confidently rest in him, working all things out for good. And it says in 1 Thessalonians, in one perpetual victory parade. That's what it says. It doesn't always feel that way, but remember, it's not about our feelings, it's about truth. So I'm actually I want my husband to get all of his amazingness. Can you still praise God when you feel benched? All right, I'm going to finish this and then I'm going to hand it over. Guys, when I was little, I loved soccer. I actually was on a traveling team for a very, very, very long time. It was my first love while I was singing in church. That's how I got involved in acting and theater and all that. Through my dad, who put a microphone in my hand at 4 and it was like bigger than my head. Anyway, so in soccer, it sounds silly to think of 9-year-olds, but I was the captain of the soccer team for our traveling team that was actually training like in a very prestigious position very early on, okay? And I got tendinitis a year after I became captain of the soccer team. And tendinitis actually got me benched. I was suffering a lot, and I was really struggling, and I looked at my coach, Coach Cade, with tears in my eyes, and I was like, I guess I'm not going to be the captain anymore. Let so-and-so wear the jersey, wear the cool band, all the things. And he said, no, Amber, I actually want you to be the captain, and I want you to lead from the bench. It was rough. And guys, that's kind of the testimony of my life, is I'm like, wait, so my talent isn't why you've asked me into leadership. That's really hard. You're not asking me to rely on my talent. You're asking me to encourage and uplift other people, and by doing that, you can still be benched and be doing God's work. It's not something you've done a lot of times. Now, however, some of our mentors last night have been helping us understand sometimes you're benched to humble yourself. But don't always think that when you're being in the waiting zone that you're doing something wrong. He could just be just raising up something, or that person needs to be on the field more than you, like we just said. So trust him as your coach. He is the ultimate director of all time. And this is how we approach our self-tapes now. Praise God.
Whew. Let's just take a second. Yeah, thank you. There's something incredible about being married. I love it. It's the greatest ever. But also, I'm constantly learning from her. So I'm really grateful to be one of her students. Okay, so I'm going to talk about offering excellence. On top of kind of what Amber just said, we're gonna kind of jump back and forth. But we start with Proverbs 10:4-5. A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. He who gathers in summer is a prudent son, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who brings shame. In Galatians 6:5, each one should test their own actions. They can take pride, so that they can take pride in themselves without comparing themselves to someone else. Okay, Exodus 36. Stay with me here. I know we're going back, okay? He made the veil of blue and purple and scarlet yarns, and he twined linen, thank you, with cherubim skillfully worked into it. He made 4 pillars of acacia and overlaid them with gold. Their hooks were gold, and he cast for them 4 bases of silver. He also made a screen for the entrance of the tent of blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twined linen embroidered with needlework, and its 5 pillars with their hooks overlaid their capitals and their fillets, like a filet mignon, and their fillets were of gold, but their 5 bases were of bronze. I am really, really passionate about giving our best to God because I know God wants our best. And because when he created the world, he looked back and said, it is good. It wasn't just okay, it wasn't good enough, it was good, and he was proud of his creation. Now, I know we went on to disappoint him a little bit right after this, but he was proud of his work, and we need to be able to take pride in our work. And I think one of the things that's constantly overseen, I feel like really far from you now. Can you come back and stand and maybe you could like do this or a couple times? I'll just be like, switch, it'll be great. So yeah, it's super important to me that we give God our excellence. And one of the things that I figured out early on is that self-taping is the first place that I get to practice my art as an individual who's a storyteller. Specifically as an actor, I wanted to really fall in love with the process of self-taping. And as someone who values cinematography and directing and lighting, all that, I was like, wow, I can put so much time and effort into making my auditions look really great. But what happened was I got my priorities out of whack. And I started spending most of my time buying new camera gear, going to, make sure my audio is super crisp, spending money that we didn't have to invest in our career, being like, this is going to make us better. But ultimately, our identity in Christ is what grounds us and allows us to even have the platform to book parts in the first place. And in Exodus, God's talking about when he's building the tabernacle and he gives instruction, he gives specific instruction. It's not just build it and make it look dope. It's build it, and here's a list of reasons why I want it to be like this. I think we have to look at our careers and say, if we're going to create something, we need to set out with a plan. You can't make a film without pre-production, right? We have to pre-produce all of our careers to ultimately, I think, gain the, I don't know, we just say bookings, or to get ourselves to the position that we want to be, which we all want to be on set, right? Right? Raise your hands. Yeah, we're all trying to get there. Cool. And we do as much as we can to get there. Jump to the next slide for me, babe. Okay, so we'll talk about some practicality stuff. Stay with me. By raise of hands, who here self-tapes on their phone? Oh, goodness gracious. All right. I was about to say, Zach, put your hand down. Zach, what camera do you tape your auditions on? Okay, either one. So we have the A7 III. It is a great camera. Guys, this is not a comparison game. Our entire thing that we're going to talk about today is because of iPhone self-tapes or Galaxy, Android, whatever it is. We can still turn in really quality work with our phones and with material that is not expensive. We don't have to go into debt to be able to turn it in a good self-tape, ultimately. So if we jump in here, lighting, super important. Camera, phone, we can do that. It's fine. Audio. These are the 3 stages for me on what will turn out to be a good audition. If you don't get one of these right, the whole audition's not going to be good. This is the bottom line. If you can't hear yourself clearly, the casting director's moving on. If they can't see your eyes clearly, they're moving on. If they feel like the lighting looks really terrible, they're moving on. They're not going to give you the part. And I can tell you guys from experience a really quick story. In 2018, I had an amazing opportunity to direct a show, and we got great funding for it, so we were able to actually like go through the casting process, put out auditions. With our main character, I had 2,000 submissions. And I spent 6 days for 12 hours a day with a production team reviewing self-tapes. Now, this was fun for me, being a young guy, being like, whoo-hoo, I get to see what Atlanta's market is like. Who am I auditioning up against? But that was my pride and my selfishness speaking. What it really taught me was that there is a need for us to value excellence in our audition process, because I probably skipped 75% of the auditions. That's not an exaggeration. I literally am going, nope, can't see them. Nope, they lied in their headshot. Nope, they're too short. Nope, they're too tall. They're not telling me the truth. They're not actually accurately representing who they are. And as image bearers of Christ, it is our responsibility to authentically express who we are and tell people exactly how tall we are, show them exactly what we look like, and not try to finagle the system to show a alternative version of ourselves, okay? Next slide. This is consistency, okay? I grabbed these slides. These are from Amber and I's, a couple auditions in the past month that we've done. There is a couple things we're going to jump into really quick just on these slides, but consistency is incredibly important for us when building a authentic self-tape, because it not only allows you to step into your self-tape studio, whether it's your room, whether you have an office, whether it's the basement, whether it's your grandma's guest bedroom, it doesn't matter. I've heard it all. I'm not even kidding. It could be your kitchen. It could be you could live in a studio apartment and you know which wall has the best light. But you should know which wall has the best light, is what I'm trying to get at here. It's not just throw the camera up and audition. You're not going to book the part. You're not putting time into it. And casting wants to see commitment, diligence, excellence. They want to see your best because they want to know that they can trust you. When I see a bad self-tape, if I'm in a casting process as a producer, the number one thing I think is they're going to be late to my set. They're not going to show up prepared. They're not going to be memorized. They're probably going to have super greasy hair, and I'm going to have to spend another 20 minutes washing their hair on set and telling our hair and makeup team. And then my AD's going to be frustrated with me. My director's going to come to me and ask me, Justin, why didn't you vet your cast better? That starts when I see a bad self-tape. That is not just me saying, do good self-tapes. I'm telling you, it trickles into the entire part of your career. And if our ultimate goal is to get on set, to share the light of Christ, we have to start the minute we get the email. So, 4K self-tapes. If you guys saw Life, you know what's hilarious? I'm literally wearing this exact thing. And when we got into Albany, Kim on the Kendrick Brothers staff, she emailed me and she was like, hey, do you want any of your costumes? I was like, yeah, I'll take them all. So I literally walked into our little space that we're staying, and I was like, oh, I missed you, old friend. So yeah, this is it. Anyway, but go back real quick, babe. So, okay, this is really crazy. Bob Scott came up to me when we started filming, and I was like, hey, so what do you want me to do so that it looks like I'm filming on my phone? He's like, Justin, we're giving you C camera credit. I was like, that's a joke. Come on, you're not doing that. He's like, no, we are. You're filming every time Nate films, you're going to actually film, and we're going to cut that footage into the movie and show it in the theaters. So your phone is a capable tool, okay? If you're watching other people, if you look at, and I laugh because Zach and I talk about this all the time. It's fun that we get to put our huge softbox lights up and put our cameras, but those are tools that we use in other parts of our careers, so we happen to have them at our disposal. A lot of people don't, and I understand that, right? So, but that phone, there are apps that you can use and download to enhance the quality of your self-tape of your phone. If you're going to use your phone, know how to make it look incredible, and that starts with lighting. Number one, you cannot make your phone look good without really solid light. And you can get cheap light. We'll get there in a second, but keep on this one. Filmic Pro is a great application you can download. I think it's for Android. I have it for the iPhone, or the Moment app. The Moment app is you see up there on that still of my friend Rafi, or Rafael Ruggiero, who plays David. And then this shot of me shooting a different scene, but I'm always filming with my phone. And those clips made it into the film. They're cut because it takes the phone, it compresses the footage the right way. You can shoot in log. No one's going to care about that, but you can shoot in log on the phone.
It gives you focus control, you guys. If you ever have problems with like your phone pulling focus to something else, you can lay a mark on the floor, lock your focus, and do different really great stuff. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, there are extreme circumstances when I get into an audition room where I'll have either Amber or somebody pull focus to me. There was an audition recently actually for Brett Varvel's newest film, and one of the characters, I didn't get the part, but I was glad to read for it, and I had to come in and I'm supposed to like talk to the camera, and I'm sitting here like kind of talking to it, and I'm adjusting the focus ring, and I literally had my friend Will just literally turn the focus ring until I was in focus, but it made the audition feel like what it's gonna feel like in the film. We need to be bold enough to make choices in our auditions that are a little bit on the risky mark. I always feel if you make a strong choice, even if I'm gonna be like, whoa, not getting the part, I'm still going, whoa, and that's a great response when I'm watching a self-tape. That's just the total truth. I have watched, and in those 2,000 auditions that we watched for the one main character, I'm seeing decisions and I'm going, okay, he opened it the same way that the last 50 guys did. He opened it the same way. The guy that ended up getting the part literally changed almost the entire opening moment and didn't even say like the script for the first 20 seconds. His entire opening was nonverbal. He literally came in, threw his jacket, was walking around. Instead of just coming and be like, Mom, what are you, blah, 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 just talking, he changed the whole thing. And I'm like, what? Does he know what the audition is? Oh, okay, all right. Okay, pause. He kind of looks like our other actors. Moment. It's not just about your good audition. There's a lot of factors that play into you booking the part, okay? You may not look like the family members that have already been cast, who've already been contracted. You may not be the right fit for the part. So when you walk away and you didn't get the audition, that's okay. It is not just because you're a bad actor or you weren't right for it. We always try to come down on ourselves. We're like, man, I'm terrible. Why didn't I not get this part? I felt like my audition was great. The amount of factors that go into you getting the part is so much greater than just your performance, okay? So just be confident. Be reminded in who you are. Amber talked about it for literally 30 minutes, so like that's a huge, huge thing. Take the notes back. Okay, here's a couple quick little tips that we're gonna talk about. Positive and negative fill. For all my filmmaker friends in the room, you know what this is. For a lot of actors, we don't value this. Let me tell you guys, as an actor, when I started educating myself on cinematography and learning what the camera does, I started completely changing my entire understanding on set. When I would get on set and they would change a lens, I would ask the cinematographer, what lens are we on now? They're like, oh, we're on a 20 millimeter. I'm like, that's my entire body. So I can't be sitting here fidgeting with my jeans because it's not a close-up. I can't be, oh, you're on 100 millimeter and we're this close? Guess what? That's literally an extreme close-up. So I'm asking these questions because I'm starting to study the craft of cinematography, which has allowed my auditions to look better. And they might tell you, medium wide, blah, 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 whatever, in the room, but you can start to kind of slowly adjust that to be on brand with what they're asking you to do, but also to make bold, big choices. Amber, will you go back to the stills of us in our self-tapes? Okay, this is an experience of negative fill. Do you guys see this picture of me down on the bottom side? I actually have a black flag. It's a poster board from Walmart that was 99 cents. What it's doing is it's sucking light from the left side of my face, and it's dramatic, right? Would you say that that's a dramatic image? Okay, you can do it with your phone, and $5 from Walmart. Cool? Duct tape, a stool, put it up there. That negative fill, and I'm telling you guys what, I've posted about this a million times. In the last 2 years, I actually started figuring out about this because I have never valued negative fill. I've always been like, let's just blast it with light, let's whatever. This has changed everything for me. Some of these auditions are a little bit different, right? So Amber, in my these corner images of us, those are like blasted with light, right? And even the angle that I'm shooting at, this angle at the very top, I'm actually looking at the camera. I know most of you guys are like, you're not supposed to spike. This was for a corporate audition where they were literally like, talk to camera. I was like, cool, so I did. But all of these are different versions of our self-tapes. And yes, these were shot on a camera, but I can do this exact thing, and we just didn't have time to do it to put it into our presentation. But we can do the same thing on our phone. So there are tools. Sorry, babe, you can skip back over. Which one? Oh, okay, yes, great. Thank you, babe, for reminding me. So these three are in our office where we teach our lessons and our classes and stuff. But the top one to the right was shot in my grandmother's bathroom. Not kidding, literally, and we are, the tripod is 1 foot in the tub, and but why is the background there still there? Why did I bring the camera? Why am I choosing the bathroom that's in that side of the house? Because the light was great, because I knew that I could hang from one door to another door, my background, and keep things consistent. We're building trust, you guys. When a casting director sees an audition, they go, Justin and Amber always turn in good auditions. Whether it's they get the part or not, I know that I'm going to be able to be pleased by watching their audition. They're going to make choices. They're going to have fun with the process. This is something we have to value. Okay, jumping on. Okay. Always push and challenge yourself. I said this earlier with Exodus. Don't settle for just this is okay. Start asking the questions. Why doesn't this look great? I would always tell you to start. If you're a director or a producer, anybody, and you've ever been on a location scout, the first thing that we do. This is hilarious. I'm just going to keep calling out Zach, because him and I have location scouted before. Zach's a great DP. Zach and I have walked into buildings before, and the number one thing we do is we turn all the lights off, and we're like, ooh, this is going to be a challenge. And then people who have never experienced or studied that have been like, why are you turning the lights? Just turn them on. We can film the movie right now. I'm like, no, you can't. We have to be able to control our light. We need to be able to have a consistent light. How many people here self-tape after they get home from work when the sun is down? Oh, okay. Good for you guys. Yeah. Amber and I have a baby. Thank you. Oh, we're okay. I have like 2 more slides. We're fine. That's me. Yeah, Amber and I have a baby, so we're often taping at 8, 9, and 10 p.m. You can't use the sun. You have to use lighting, okay? So we know what light we want to use. And some of our self-tape lights in our studio are like really expensive. We use them for making films. We rent them out. We do stuff like that. But our self-tape lights that we're using all the time are like $50 from Amazon. Like if you just like save some babysitting money, you can do that, okay? Amazon, take a picture of this screen, you guys. Boom. Yeah, we're not getting sponsored. Don't clip this and send it to them or we'll get a copyright. No, so search for softbox lighting kits. They're usually $50 to $60. They come in 2 rectangle lights. I would encourage you to do ones that are by Kelvin. If you're taking notes, by Kelvin lights. What that will do is we'll give you the opportunity to shoot with warm lights that are like, kind of looks like the sunset, and really cool lights that are more daylight. But let me tell you guys something. iPhone prefers, if you're shooting on an iPhone prefers short, warm lighting. Your skin tone will look better. How many people, I'm sorry, I'm going to call you out, but how many people in here film with a ring light? I love you all, but you need to get rid of your ring lights. I have seen, I just saw, Marissa just said I do 2. That's fine. But if your ring light is your primary source and your camera's in the middle of it, your eyes show up with circles. You look like an alien. Beverly Holloway told me she literally skips. So if you're ever in this room and you're like, I've auditioned for Beverly like 10 times. I'm telling you, she literally said, I just skip it because I can't even watch their performance without seeing their circles in their eyes looking like. But let me tell you, don't just like get rid of your light. You can throw a white t-shirt over it. You can tape white over top of it to soften it, and you put it on an angle, and then grab white cardboard or cardstock, whatever, from Walmart, and put it on the other side and fill it with the other side of the fill, because that will allow you to still use the light that you have, not have to go out and buy other ones. I would continue to tell you to invest, but okay, cool. Yeah, that's our last slide. You can check it out. So yeah, we've been teaching on this stuff, and we coach people. This is our auditions that we're putting on, that we've spent time educating ourselves on, have put a lot of our clients in really great positions. I think that's my last slide, so I don't think we need to worry about it. But we've got my students and Amber's students are in like shows or movies that are on these major platforms, and I can tell you that I've received emails from casting and production and say, wherever you taped that, go back. I'm not saying it's because we have the best self-tape setup, but it's because we prioritize this. I have traveled to students' houses when our equipment was either rented out or it was like very last minute, and I was passing and they were like, we have an audition due in 25 minutes, can you help? I'm like, yes, I know you guys are out of town and grandparents don't know how to read with your kid or whoever, so I'll hop in there, I'll pin the self-tape background up, I'll put the lights up, and we will make it look really, really awesome. Okay, who has some questions about self-tapes? Yes, go ahead. Backdrops, Amazon. Look up blue, and let me tell you guys something. I really love the blue that we have because it's textured. The solid blue can feel kind of like green screen or blue screen, which can be a little bit stale sometimes. This allows me to do drama and comedy and kind of have just like a neutral in the background. And it also does really great. It also does really great with wrinkles and stuff like that. Like you don't really see those show up, and that's a really distracting thing, right? When I see you on camera or a casting director sees you on camera, they want to look at your face and your eyes. They want to be able to see you and hear you clearly. And if there's wrinkles in the background or you've got weird props in it or whatever, that's going to be really distracting. Yeah. Oh, there are two. I didn't even see your hand up. Both of you. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. No, absolutely. I'm going to walk over to this window to give a really quick example. If I'm going to do an audition in this room, and that window is the closest one, I'm going to wait and schedule my audition at like 2 o'clock, right? When the sun's either at its very most high or when it's coming through that window, right? Because of what we want to do. But what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't stand this close to the window, right? I would like kind of play with where you're standing. And then I still would say, go to Walmart and buy a poster board and tape 2 or 3 together. Or get, honestly, guys, we just did this for a Zoom interview that Amber and I had out at my parents' farm. I literally hung a bed sheet with clamps from Walmart, and we literally did an ultra bounce from when we were on film sets, right? But like a fake ultra bounce with a $10 sheet. And we grabbed, what we did was I set actually away from the sun. Instead of the sun being the primary source, I set this way, the sun behind me, and put the sheet in front of me so the sun bounced off of the sheet and filled me with soft, nice light. And then I was able to actually do it really well. Yeah, go ahead. Come on. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. I'm the same way. That's what I struggle with. And honestly, my audition for the Kendrick Brothers was actually at my parents' house, and it was up against a wall just like this. It was not beautiful, to be honest. But I was able to, it was like, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but I was with the beautiful Marissa back there, and I had to put a sheet over her head, so I literally grabbed a sheet from my parents' house. I wore at least something I thought would look like a clinic employee, and then I actually used a background of like crowds cheering like a riot, because that's what was going on. So what has really freed me up is making sure that I actually am acting really well and focusing on my reader and trusting God that it's not always going to be perfect. And I mean, I still got it. And that was my first audition for Beverly, and I was like, Lord, now it's just going to be like, she's not even going to look at it. And she actually liked it because she was like, well, it wasn't, as great as she would have liked it to look, but your acting is always more important. Yeah. And also your slate. To be honest, friends, like who you are in your slate, they watch it a lot. Do they want to work with you as a person? And so what's really helped me is when I'm just being myself and being authentic, people don't relate with perfect. They relate to real. And so that's really helped me in my self-tapes. So do the best you can, but don't be rigid about it. Yeah. Yes, Christina.
I'm gonna jump on that.
It changes. It fluctuates. Casting standard fluctuates. And when I say casting standard, like a lot of people in Atlanta and LA will send you breakdowns that say, we prefer you tape in front of this background. I haven't seen one in years, but that's because it's been years since those have come out and they've kind of still been the same. I think blue is a solid color because it kind of just sits back there and stays, and it's not something that draws our attention, but it usually flatters almost every skin tone, every eye color. It's not something that draws our attention, but I would say texture in your background is really, really important. Ours was like $25, I think, or something on Amazon, and we just literally tape it up on a stand or like to the whatever, and like wash it. You know what I mean? Wash it and dry it before you throw it up, because then you get the wrinkles out, and it helps. So that's a big part. I wanted to say that. Yeah, go ahead, dude. Yeah. Yeah, these lights are great. If you look up softbox lighting kit on Amazon, you can literally grab any of them. Usually they're gonna be between $50 and $60. They're gonna be two, and you can get by Kelvin, right? So they have warm and cold. And let me say one really quick thing on the warm and cold light. When we're shooting period piece auditions, you guys, like that are for like 1700s, 1800s, stuff like that, I throw one of the lights behind us in the corner and I turn it on warm and I wash the back of my face or the back of our head with warm light. If it's like an exterior scene that I'm doing and I'm not inside the house or something, and I'll throw that on as a different color, really, really warm light, and it kind of looks like the sunlight is coming in, and it actually just allows us to be like kind of bought into the scene and story, right? These casting directors, they want to be wowed by your your performance. And I love the not overly putting time into perfection. But like, guys, I'm talking about literally, I go with one stand, I put it behind me in the corner, and I switch the light, and then I'm like, all right, babe, roll it. You know what I mean? And then to the slate, I pull the stand, put it up. Here we are. Let me put this out here. When you are choosing to light and choose the angle of your audition, that kind of thing is very, very easy to be worried or cautious about yourself and your appearance, right? Because, and I just say this, like, flattering light is both lights and the camera in the middle. 2 lights on either side flushing you with light. It clears your skin. It like makes, so for corporate commercial auditions, I am almost always doing both lights on either side. For anything else, like dramatic narrative, short film, anything that's a feature film, I am usually doing one light that's keying me from one side that has a little slight shadow on my face, because this is how we light films. I wish my friend Terpster's in here. Jonathan Terpster is here. He's a gaffer, an incredible electrician and lighter from Lifemark, and he just worked on Final Breath and a lot of other great films, or Birthright, sorry, not Final Breath. And he always talks about this. It's like, we have to shoot stuff that looks the way that movies look. And if we want to be seen as an actor who is on camera, you're literally slightly, because directors and casting directors know this stuff, right? They see your auditions, and that stuff is important. But if we can slightly change, right? We never say go into full costume. But if I'm gonna be a nurse, I'm not gonna show up in like this, right? I'm gonna put like a solid blue shirt on that maybe is a V-neck, because a lot of scrubs are V-necks, and it may have a pocket on it. I'm gonna slightly enhance my costuming to be somewhat the character, but not a full costume, because you don't want to show up in full outfit. Yeah, go ahead. Eyelines, oh my word. Yes.
Okay, so on your phone, I just dealt with this last week. We actually have an online class called Self-Tape to Screen, what we're working on right now. And one of my students, his acting was incredible. But the person's supposed to fall down in the scene, right? And honestly die. And his eyeline is here, and I can't see anything that is going on because I'm seeing his hair and his eyes. And so I told him, I was like, you are so gifted, and I missed it. I can hear in your voice that you sound awesome. So do you have your phone on you, babe? Yeah. So will you stand right here for me? You know on your phone, you guys, where the camera is, will you flip it around and show everyone flip it around, the camera. So if the camera, like where you take the pictures, is right here, show me with your hand, honey, where the reader should be. So you can do it there, but it's okay. I actually prefer it right beside the camera. You're not going to look into it, but your eyes need to be right beside it. So even the scene with Spider-Man, you know, when Aunt May dies, it's very sad. And I was challenging this student, and I said, okay, look right directly at Aunt May, kind of where Rebecca is, which is great. So you look right at her, she falls down, have that moment in movement where you see her die, but then bring it back up. So we can see your eyes, and you can still be in this position of like, Aunt May, wake up. You know, have all of that, but don't lose your eye line, because there's all of this wonderfulness right here. And if you can't see your eyes, which behold all of the goodness in your self-tapes, but also don't be afraid to move. Just bring it back. So I always say, do the activity, do the movement, and then bring it back.
And the biggest thing on the eye lines and people, I think this is why, like, asking the questions and moving to understanding instead of just this looks good enough, I'll deal with this, is because a lot of people wear their self-taping in their apartment where the best light is, stuff like that. There are things obstructing where the self-taper should stand, or where the reader should stand. So if like the camera's here and there's an island, kitchen island, have your friend sit on the kitchen island. Who here has seen Running the Bases? Anybody? Okay, cool. Rafael Ruggiero and I auditioned for that while shooting Lifemark, and Amber had not driven down from where we live in North Georgia with all of our equipment for self-taping yet. This was like a couple days into filming this. So I had to shoot it on my phone. Now, we did have this big blow-up background that is the color that we wanted it to, but we took it into the bathroom, and bathroom lights in hotels are really pretty good, depending on the hotel you're in. So we did that. Rafael sat in the sink like this, and he's reading like this, and the sink was automatic. And it went off. And you know what's amazing? We kept going. And his sock is just getting drenched. So we're like literally like this, and we're reading opposite of each other. But that was instead of me saying, and we both booked it. So it's like, and if we sat down and he was just off, let me just explain for focal length. If your reader is one step from being right behind the camera, your eyes are scanning a football field, right? If I'm looking from here to here, it's like, whoa, dude, stop. I think we should go rob that bank, right? I'm like, I'm talking to a whole group instead of just you to you. My eyes are barely between you two. Hey, I think we should do that. I think it'd be sweet. But they're shifting, right? Eyelines, I can tell you, it's like probably for us more important than anything else, right? Like, make sure your eyelines are solid. Yeah. Somebody over here had a question up first. Yes, you did. Yes. Tell me. No, they're not. Yes, that is a good point. And readers, guys, this is a big deal. Amber's passionate about this. Readers should be quieter than you are. You know what I mean? But also, what I love about Amber is when she reads with me, regardless of her volume, she's still connected. And as a reader, we teach on this because we see a clear difference from our students coming in when their parents or friends read with them versus when they're reading with us. And this is not me trying to make a plug for a business or a studio. If you have people that you trust in the industry who understand narrative and good acting, have them read with you, because the scene is going to be broken down and you're going to be reading something that's intelligent and deep. And if the person's like, I don't know why you have cancer, I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? No, I'm serious. And those are tender things. We have family members and people who have, you know what I mean? Like, we need to be able to empathize with people. We need to be able to look at them, and if we're like, dude, you're giving me nothing, what do we do? And Amber will literally cry off camera with me. If we have a scene that's really intentional and really intimate, like, I'll be talking to her, and as a reader, the camera's not on her. She just got up here for 45 minutes and talked to you guys about getting off of yourself. She lives it. And then when I walk on camera, if I'm not feeling confident, if I'm doing my audition, I look up at my wife who is crying. I'm like, I'm in it. I'm locked in. So find a friend, find a brother or sister in Christ who you love and tell them, I care about this. Will you please care with me? And if they're like, this is so weird, you have to do this every week, you're like, okay, well, this isn't the right audition for me to do this with you. Go ahead.
However, we've also noticed with our students that they think we're the reason they book their self-tape. That is not true. So don't get too attached to your reader that you're not exploring reading with different people. So sometimes even we get kind of in this like, I love this student, I really want to read with them. But I'm like, Justin's really good at comedy, so they should read with Justin. Or, I really love dramatic acting. Or if it's a period piece, everyone knows that's like my jazz. I love to do period pieces. Then I'm going to read with that. With someone who enjoys that topic. But what I love what you're saying, sometimes you're in a bind. And do not rely on the other person to kind of give it to you, right? Trust God, do your best. I always say in Marvel movies, they have a big green screen behind them, and literally Tom Hiddleston as Loki has to act with a tennis ball dangling over something and pretend it's the Hulk. If Tom Hiddleston, come on, British actors, we need to step it up, okay? If they can do that and Tom Hiddleston's like crying and being Loki with a tennis ball, then we can imagine it too. But if you do have the choice, do it with someone you connect with.
Yeah, and I would say on that, if you're going to self-tape with somebody who is not really great, like as an actor, I would challenge you guys to start practicing working off of a mark. I would put some tape up on the wall and just get into that emotional. We use our imagination for a living, right? So try to get into that space and just use them as. What? Oh, yeah. I see you back there. And use that space to practice and work, because we have been in environments where we have to work opposite of someone who is not in the room. Or the main actor left and it was the stand-in and it was over their shoulder because it was the last moment of the day. And I'm going, this is my biggest scene. And you're not going to give me the person who booked the other? Nope. That's not how the world works. You have to be, and if you can't get it in the self-tape room, you're not going to get it on set. Take that note. If you literally are not ever getting to the place that you want to on the self-tape room, it's going to be incredibly difficult. Now, day-to-day life can play a huge part. I'm not going to go on that story. Anyway, forget it. Questions? Go ahead. Yeah, so I would tell you guys the first step for anybody here who's not trying to go out and spend a ton of money is borrow a friend's iPhone and use voice memos. Put the voice memos as close as you can because they actually have really, really great. And if you can film in a space with carpet, with curtains, with a bed, that stuff is great because it kills sound pretty easily. Don't go into the kitchen where there's nothing and everything's bouncing off everything, right? Find a place that's dead. And if you have to film in a kitchen in an apartment or somewhere, lay blankets and towels around any hard surface. I know I'm trying to give you guys, but I'm trying to give you just the little tips that help make your self-tape sound better. But iPhones and phones work great with the voice memo apps that you can use. I will say up on my Amazon one was the iRig microphone lav. Amber's wearing it right now, actually. It's a lav mic. Now, you can tape it like you would a regular film mic, like underneath. I have one on too, actually, but it's taped. So that iRig is $25, and it is incredible. Like, I've used it for demo reels and other stuff that we've shot that should be like kind of more film-like, and they work great. They have clear audio. You can hear everything. It's not super bassy or super trebly. It sounds great. So I would tell you if you can afford it or you need to, just grab the phone. Cool? Yeah. We can do two quick questions. Go for it, dude. Oh, or wait, who? Yeah, you? Wait, who? Yes, Red. Go ahead. I said Red. Sorry. Oh. Mm.
Well, thank you. I love Leona. Okay, this is my favorite thing because it comes back to that discipleship point of getting off of myself. I love this first moment where I'm already immersed into the world. So, for example, in running the bases with Justin, I was like, I never get onto a scene. If the scene starts and is just like, I love that idiot. That's like my main line in running the bases, right? The writer, like Leona, she's a writer, said these girls are walking and then she runs into Ryan Jameson and I start flirting with him. So as I was walking, this first moment of getting in it is imagining what would Amber be doing as Danielle if I'm walking with my friends and then I run into Justin. So I actually improv a lot. And I pick out a couple things where I'm like, and then they put it in the movie. So I came into my audition and I wore lip gloss. I pretended I was back in high school. I am not in high school at all. And so I was like, oh yeah, I actually think I'm gonna audition for the soccer team. Like, what do you think? And then I see Justin and it has this first moment. And so because I'm already immersed in the world, it helps me then connect to the person and they see a difference. For Leona, I think it was a waitress that I was auditioning for. And so I'm very type A, so I thought I'd bring a lot of Amber's type A into this person who really loves the customers, but is also doing a job. So I think I was wiping down the table and it was helping me go ahead and get off of myself and serve like a server would, like a waitress, right? So I'm like going like this, and it gets me into this activity, which is like the Meisner technique, where if you're doing an activity, it's going ahead and getting off of what you look like, getting off of, oh, I really hope I book this part, and you are that character. And it's really refreshing to have that first moment. So right when someone sees your self-tape, they don't go, oh, she's just saying her line. No, you have this first moment, you have this world that's already rolling, and then you have that moment. But thank you for saying that.
Last question, then we got to bring Rebecca back. Yeah, go ahead.
Thoughts on the makeup, hair, and clothing when self-taping for auditions?
Oh my goodness, I love this. And Micah, can you raise your hand real quick? Guys, Micah is one of my dear friends, and she does this on set. Like I can't wait for us to have a conversation because we both love this so much. Clearly, we like fashion. And honestly, that stood out to our mentor a lot because that's how we connect as women, right? So we were able to ask our mentor who does a lot of movies, hey, does it actually matter what we wear? It does. So this, I asked Justin today, I was like, what character would this be?
Hold on, every day she asks me this. What character is this?
I was like, what character would this
And I'm
be?
like, I don't know, kind of like punk rock, kind of cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I love rock and roll.
I say it every day too.
I'm so sorry, at a Christian conference. But, so if you're playing a quirky character, you would wear your hair maybe like this, polka dot shirt, and your makeup would reflect that. If I'm playing a girl like in Brett Varvel's movie, when I auditioned for that, I didn't get it, but I felt so encouraged that if it's dramatic, I'm gonna do some more makeup that's kind of highlighting my cheekbones and stuff, but I'm going to wear darker colors. You know, if I'm auditioning for Into the Spotlight, if anyone's heard of that movie musical, woo, then I actually did play a Christian punk rock girl in that. So I'm going to wear cool hair and something modest because she's a Christian rock and roll person, but something fun. If you're playing an everyday girl, wear like a green tank top that pops your eyes or whatever color it is, and do your hair like that. Really immerse in what you think it would be on film. I like to be the director, the costumer, you know, the actress. That's how you're approaching your self-tape. So please dress as the character, because in theater, you're told to wear like a basic color and look like a chorus girl when you come in, right? I started all my self-tapes like that. It doesn't work. If you're a waitress, like Leona and I were talking about, you would wear like a little apron. Totally go for it. But great question. But find Micah, because she does this on set and she can help you. And also just a plug, you guys, Micah's acting session later will change your life. I cried at Women in My World when she was talking about some of it. Please go. The actor journey is really hard. And kind of to wrap this up, this matters, but if you're really, really insecure or really struggling, you're not alone. Let's help each other and really go to that, because it goes through those lies and stuff too. But thanks for having us, everyone.
Guys, yes, okay. I was going to say on the costume thing really quick. Guys, the biggest problem is dudes. I love every guy in this room, like brother in Christ. We have to put thought into our appearance, okay? I'm serious. I know all the ladies are like, yes, I know. No. Wash your hair, brush your teeth, comb your beard if you have one. I'm serious. No, I'm serious. Like, you feel different when you present yourself. Micah. Great thought. Rebecca, we're a couple minutes over. Sorry, guys. Love you all. Come find us, and we'll talk afterwards.